Welcome to the Coach Ko Show, talking advancement, success in soccer and life. Your host is Kayode Mckinnon, energized, motivated under pressure soccer coach with the task of awakening purpose. It's time.
Hi, and welcome back to another episode of the Coach Ko Show. We talk all things soccer. It's no different tonight. Let me quickly remind you, as always, greater is He that is in us and He that is in the world. Remember, this podcast, the main objective here is to inspire our young people so they can live out their purpose. We are in a very serious time, and we all have a responsibility to help the next generation based on the fact that we would have made the mistakes, we would have erred, and so we don't want them, as I would say, we don't want them to learn from mistakes. I know that is something that we use, that people have to learn from mistakes. I believe people should learn from teaching, not from mistakes. Mistakes happen, but we shouldn't preach that people should learn from mistakes, because sometimes a mistake you might not get a second chance to do it over. So if we can learn from teaching, I believe it's much more fruitful. We want to discuss they interview what they don't live, and it's part of soccer. It's part of the environment, and more we understand soccer is not just a sport, but it has politics. You're dealing with different elements within soccer. Is no longer what it used to be, which was just about playing the game, passion. Now, like everything else, it evolved, and it evolved into a place now where many other things you have to consider outside of what is the main priority, and that is what is happening on the field. That is the attraction. That is what people pay their money to see. That is what people are investing in their children to do. It's what happens on the field. If it's for social interaction, if it's for emotional development, if it's for recreation and exercise, the physical aspect that enables the cognitive aspect, whatever it's for, um, it's what we do on the field. It's still the main thing. It's still the priority. But we have to consider within the environment, especially for young people who are ambitious, who are trying to do something positive with their lives, and they believe that coaching is something that they love, um, is something that they want to be involved in. It's important for you to know that there are many interviews or many interviewers that don't necessarily live what they're talking about. And it's important for you to understand that, so that um, you're not frustrated, you're not depressed. Um, it will be here, and it will continue to be here, because wherever there's good, there must be anti good. Wherever there's bad, there must be anti bad. So it's to enlighten you that, because People try hard and they give their all, they study, they make efforts, they're committed, but then they're sidelined for many reasons and they don't understand and they oftentimes give up. If it's your passion, it's your desire, I want to encourage you now when you're confronted with these things that you don't lose faith, that you don't lose hope. You continue to do what is right, what is pleasing in the sight of God, because in life there are seasons. And if you remember the children of Israel, it took them 40 years. They didn't have to wait 40 years, but they allow an external force or they allow external things to dictate what they should have been doing. And so it continue the process of having to learn. So hopefully through this podcast that when you encounter some of these things, you will not lose hope. You will not lose your passion. You will not lose your desire. But understand there will be a season when you will be in the position to do exactly what you were called to do. And no one, absolutely no one, can stop it. No matter how they try, they cannot stop it if you stay the course. And how many of you have also, some of you have gone to interviews uh, and was so excited because the magnitude of the interview, maybe the environment, maybe the way people articulated themselves or conducted themselves. Maybe it's the building, maybe it's the nice fields, maybe it's so many things. And nothing after you got in, nothing looked like what you were interviewed about. You were so excited based on all of those things. And then you are highly disappointed. Why? They interview what they don't live. Now, this is not helpful for no one. And like the big word seems to be the new trend within the game. See, I grew up in South America and we played in the street and it was fun. We played on the road. We played everywhere we could play. We played in our community and it was this authenticity. It was this pureness of just playing and competing with your friends on a daily basis. Then it moved to club and, most people who come out who would have gotten out from such environment will tell you the pureness and the joy. And then you get to a certain level and you realize it's more than the passion, the joy, the skill, the competence, the excitement, the entertainment. It's so much more. And it's not going anywhere. And don't cry about it. Don't cry about it because it's not going anywhere. Because as the new trends seem to be, it's about perception. The problem with this perception is creating many disloyal people. It's creating people who are willing to turn against you, stab you in the back, as they say. It's creating people who are willing to wear a mask. And that mask is, I will give you what you need, but not necessarily who I am. Do you believe that will help the future? So now, because things are not based on merit, because it's not based on this level of openness, this level of fairness and truth, again, it's not nothing to cry about and get all worked up about. His life. If you don't know, this is life. This is what will be here until. It's understanding it, it's respecting it, and really finding your purpose in God so that when your season comes, no one can stop it. But it's not doing um, nothing good within an environment where young people are screaming for direction. They're screaming for leadership. And some screaming for love, and some screaming for compassion and empathy. But people will wear the mask because there's a lot of interviewing or a lot of interviews, or people are interviewing what they're not. In 2019 and 2020, a study showed that the mental emergency department saw 31% of visits between 12 and 17-year-olds. 12 and 17-year-olds. When I was 12 and 17, it felt like you could do anything. And trust me, there were pressure. But that pressure was part of molding you and shaping you into what the world, what we're dealing with within the world at the moment. Now, young people are struggling with helplessness and don't know where to turn, and they don't even have to worry about bills when the month comes. They don't even have to worry about where they're going to sleep or what they're going to wear or how they're going to get to school. But they're struggling with all these mental issues. And sports allow us to deal with all those things. The good people in sports, the people who actually want to see transformation in the lives of these young people, are marginalized and many other different things for many other different reasons. But how was it the worst in 2019 and 2021? Suicide attempts went to 51% in the very age group, 12 to 17. Don't get me wrong, interviews are important. It checks your competencies, um, it checks your character, your belief. Are you aligned? Your philosophies, your skill set, your knowledge, all of these things are on display. All these things are on display in interviews, and it's important because in the true sense of it, it's not always about if you highly qualify or if you have an A license or a C license or if you have a degree in business or you have no degree in business. Sometimes it's about alignment. Are you going to be aligned? And what are you aligned with? But nothing is wrong with interviews. Excuse me. People get to know who you are. You get to know who they are. But like I said, with all that is entered into the game, which is the reality, I'm just bringing it to the forefront so that you young people understand what the reality is, so you're not surprised and you're not, uh, you don't come in or thinking that you're just going to do all the right things and get your qualification and be equipped and think you're just gonna, yes, I'm qualified. Or and you're gonna look at the roster and you will see, oh, I got a B license and that entire staff got a F license. So you know what? I really believe I could help this environment with what I have, and you will be turned away, and you will not understand why. Young men, young women trying to get into the game, for some reason they love soccer. They believe it's exciting. They want to be on the field. They want to help young people. I've spoken to young coaches, and it's just like this excitement. Yeah, I just love it. It's my passion. I just want to coach, and I'm like, yep, yep. You got to go deal with those interviews, and most of those interviews, unfortunately, are not based on meritocracy. It's a lot about politics. I'm not saying who's right and who's wrong. What I'm saying is what is the reality, so that you don't lose faith, that you don't lose hope and get up and go do something crazy because you think the world is unfair. The world in balance anyway. But you hear the complaints about disloyalty and people not, you know, can't trust people, and you've got to bring in people who you can trust, and all of these things. But don't expect to get what you don't live. Don't expect what you don't live. What you align with is a representation of you. If you interviewing what you don't live, you're aligning yourself with what is a representation of you. So don't lose trust in other people. Don't claim that people are disloyal. Don't judge people incorrectly. Because the image of you impacted you in a negative way. Because a lot of people are interviewing what they're not. Could you let a mechanic interview a medical student for a job in the medical field? Yeah, this is a student is fresh, now coming out of college, bachelor's, master's, no experience, but qualified. Oh, but that's the extreme. It is. But you have an intern interviewing a soccer coach for a job as a coach, an intern who have never played a sport, who have never played a sport or play the sport. That seems to be extreme. What do you think? Is it extreme? We have school teachers interviewing coaches for soccer jobs. They've never had no encounter in the environment but YouTube, or what they watch on TV what they watch on television every Sunday. That's the only experience. The only experience is that, well, I love the game. Don't listen. This is not to say that people who didn't play the sport or who have never been in the environment or they're they're so incompetent that no, what I'm saying is you could only teach what you know. You don't just go to a private school and want to teach maths if you never did maths. That you if you never went to school and study that subject. You won't argue that they don't need to do that to teach. You wouldn't argue that. You wouldn't argue that. So it's not a slight. It is a reality that young people who are coming through the pipelines, who want to make an impact on society, who want to get involved in doing something that is positive, will have to deal with these situations and they don't understand. So if you're not going to let a mechanic interview a medical student, why do you have a school teacher? Why do you have a F licensed coach interviewing an A licensed coach? Why would you have a C licensed coach interviewing an A licensed coach? Why would you have a A licensed coach interviewing a coach with a pro license? Why would you have people who would say, well, I've been in the business long, I've never played, but I've seen a lot of stuff, and you have a license in soccer. Have you ever created a curriculum? Hmm. Do you know what is the first principle in the game? Is that so bad to say? Is that so bad to say? Even though it's affecting other people's life, it don't matter. You have unqualified people interviewing qualified people for jobs. So you're interviewing someone what you don't live about something you want to hire them to do. Well, there's many different things you can interview. I already said interviews are important. And there's many other factors, not just what you do on the field, but the responsibility is soccer. The responsibility is football. That must also be respected because not everybody is qualified to be a doctor. Not everybody is qualified to be a nurse. Not everybody is qualified to be a mechanic. Not everybody is qualified to be a teacher. Not everybody is qualified to be a businessman. Likewise, not everyone is qualified to coach soccer. So what are they going to interview in? Well, I don't need to know soccer. Well, this is a business. Absolutely. What is the business? What is the business? It is a business. Soccer is a business. Everybody knows that. It's not going to change. It's all over the world. It's entertainment. People pay to be entertained. They pay to support their teams. They pay to see their teams win. They put their hard money into the child to let them play soccer, to let them join a team. So obviously it's a business and it needs to be respected. But what is the business? What is the business? So you neglect the business for what business? So if the business is soccer, how that is not the priority? And if that is the priority, why is not treated that way? But it's full of biases. They're interviewing you about things they don't live, but judging you on things they do and you don't. So they're going to interview on something they have never lived, they have never done. So what are they interviewing you on? They're interviewing you on what they do. So what if you don't do what they do, but you do what they're interviewing you about and what is needed? What is your purpose of going to the interview? So consider so that you don't frustrate yourself or you don't lose faith or lose hope or lose the passion for what you're doing, because you can be that person who saved so many lives. So many young people might be might gravitate to you, and you might be able to steer them in a direction that protect their mental space, that they feel the sense of belonging. They feel like someone care, and they're happy to go to the field. And you're denied that because you're being interviewed by someone who have never lived it. And then they interview you based on what they know, based on what they qualify to do. But the qualification is not the priority for what is needed on a field that you are qualified to do. So you walk away, you're frustrated and you're discouraged because you're interview interviewed by someone who don't live it. They interview what they don't live. And they discourage you, they discourage people because they have they don't have to, but it's the status quo. It's no, it's just about relationship. Don't worry that. So now you have coaches would say, I don't need to get no license. And we think that is such a good thing. It's not an argument of you need a license to be a good coach or not. It's about being a lifelong learner if you're going to be a lifelong teacher. That's what it's about. It's about you as a leader taking on the responsibility to continue to grow because you could only teach what you know. So now you have young coaches who like, nah, I'm not going through that. Like that don't make no sense. I know that guy down there, and you just say, listen, just coming out, I'll get you it. So we forget that we're dealing with young people who need to be trained up, who need to be guided, who need structure, who need organization to kind of mold them to what life will, the questions that life will ask. If not now, then. And so there's no desire to gain the knowledge, to gain the skill that can be transferred to young people to bring about transformation in their lives because it's not necessary. This way, this way in which people are going about the process within football and within soccer, and there's many stories out there. There's nothing hidden. People use different reasons for why things are happening. Um, I could care less about those things. The reality is, um, if things will never be balanced, things will never be fair. This is get used to it. This is the world. Um, and understand the more good that you want to do, the more there will be an anti to your process. It's just like if you decide to do a set of bad things all the time, there's some good people waiting for you. There's some people happy to see you in the place you need to be for doing the bad, for doing the wrong things. Likewise, if you constantly trying to do what is good, you constantly trying to do um, the right things uh, within the expectations, then don't expect nothing different. Yes, sir. Good to see you, Asim. Empowerment is critical in every sense, but it's difficult. The difficult part of that is we can't empower people when they don't know the truth, and so everybody's hiding, and everybody's saying don't unsettle, don't unbalance the thing, but it's already unbalanced. So we're raising young people who now feel like they need to fit in, and they're neglecting the uniqueness that they possess that can really inspire, that can really change and bring a level of wholesome to this um, this already trying and devastating world that we're living in, because they don't understand. So they get frustrated. How do you deal with a situation where you might find yourself interviewing for a position where they might be putting on a show and not living up to questions they are asking? That is consistent. You dare not try to start asking the questions around the very thing that you feel you're being asked about, because then you already know you're not going there. Because no matter how good something is or how bad it is, it's more to be aligned with whatever that thing is, more than be someone who might be innovative. Someone might have a different idea, because the interview must look exactly like what said person want or what they look like. It cannot be different. It's like the system not set up for no one to be different. You cannot. But the system says it's welcoming, it's open, it's for everyone, but not if you're different. Not everybody, obviously, but it's something that exists, and young people need to know. Like I said, young people need to know so they can gear themselves, they can prepare themselves, They can have contingency plans. They can um, they can already have solutions in place when they encounter these problems. It will save them a whole lot of pain. And it's the same thing. It's the same thing within soccer, but it's not going anywhere because people already have a preconceived cognitive effect. Like as I would put it, it's not going to go anywhere because they have preconceived cognitive effect. So a lot of times you are not going to be picked because you can actually do the job. They are better at picking people who image them. Because if I don't know something and I'm interviewing someone who actually know, that does something to me. It's just natural. If I'm bold enough to interview somebody on something that I don't really know, or I'm not equipped, or uh, I'm not fully qualified, then human nature oftentimes will kick in. So when that happens, we don't really concern about the people who can do it, but we're more concerned about people who image who we are. This imagery is not looking like them or you look like a twin or something, but a person must be governed by set personality and they have to mirror it, their character, even standing on their moral ground. So you must lose yourself. This is why I said earlier, don't be surprised when people are not loyal because they're imaging you, because they prefer to give you what you need rather than who they really are. Because they know if they give you what who they really are, as authentic as they are, you will say no. Because sometimes in this game, what you know, what you qualify to do, makes people uneasy. Well, when I think about Guyana, we face with the same issues. And the point is, we are we haven't reached to the place where we are culture, where football is a culture, it's a community. So what you find is the people who love the game, the people who have been involved in the game, friends, families, and communities, those are the persons who are involved in the game. And if education is not number one, the number one priority, to change the way how not just how we see the game because we love the game and we we're passionate about the game, but the support that is needed from a country standpoint, from a governmental standpoint, from corporate standpoint, uh, we have to find strategies and we have to find new ways to arrive at that point where we're no longer a community sport, but we have a culture where everybody's involved because everybody goes to cricket. It is not the most popular sport, but everybody goes to cricket. The stadium is full because it's a culture. So because every corporate person probably in the entire country is involved in some way or the other. So, how we arrive at that point, that's the only way. And then, the more you're able to have people who can Don't have to agree, but have to be aligned with what the principles are, what the expectations are, what the standards are. And then we're able to move in a direction that is healthy. So most, good to see you, Sean. Most, uh, most environment are faced with this idea now where it's less about meritocracy and more about politics. And you can't run away from it. There's politics in sport because there's a lot more to consider beyond the field. But what I always say is everything will come back to what is most important, what we do on the field. But if people continue to see survival mechanisms for themselves through dumbing down what is most important, then why would they why would they change? Maybe they will change. It's like I think about it like, you know, if F is for fail, if you get an F, you fail. And 40 is a F, you fail. But a person with 40 will feel so good about themselves because they didn't get 10. But 10 is still fail. You're still an F. If you're 40, 30, 10, 20, you're still an F. But the person with 40 would feel like they're better than the person with 10 because we're 40, but you still fail. You still fail then. So we could make small strides, small improvements, and we feel like, yeah. But then the things that we're doing or the approach that we're taking, it's like it's never to get us to the point where we can say we're successful. So it's all part of this. What we say is perception. What we're now dealing with within the sport, where they have too many people interviewing what they don't live. So they're going to interview based on who they are, and it's hard for them to separate those two things. It's very difficult because most people never even thought about it. How can I separate my bias? How can I separate what I want to hear, what I want to see, what I want it to look like, rather than what is needed? Who will fit this empty chair? This chair is empty, and we need someone to fit this chair that can take this thing to where it needs to be. And that person might be someone who is more qualified than you. That might be someone who's more innovative than you. It might be someone who got a bigger vision than you. And that's what that's what that seat needs. But then if you can't separate those things, then you will neglect what is needed, and then you will pick what you want. But you don't live what is needed because you might just can't. Don't mean that you're not good. Don't mean that you don't have a desire to see something succeed. It don't mean that you might not have a good heart, but you are not that. How important is preparation process? How do you prefer for this? Sure, but you prepare for that by understanding what, if that's the question, what is your purpose? And stay true to that. Because you might be going through your 40 years because you have to be prepared for what coming after 40 years. You might think now that things are not going your way and things are bad, but little do you know, you might be, you might be, hmm, I believe you are being protected, and it will take some time for you to understand that you were being protected all this time. When the ship sinks, you might not get on the ship and you might be crying and you might be screaming, but then the ship sinks and you're like, oh my gosh, it's a good thing I didn't get on that ship. So you can't be disheartened by things that are happening to you, and you cannot also look at it as people are being unfair, or you can't take it so personal that you you begin to wish that things bad happen. That's not the message. The message is understanding that it exists, and you've got to learn to develop the character. You've got to learn to develop the mindset. You have to learn to be true to what you're passionate about on the inside, and continue to let that drive you. And I can assure you, just like how the rain fall at times and the sunshine at times and the storm comes at times, and sometimes the tide is high and then sometimes the tide is low. There's seasons. And there's nothing bad, just like how nothing bad goes unpunished, nothing will nothing good will not go unrecognizable. So you've got to have that faith to continue to do. As long as your heart is in the right place, you have to continue to find ways to improve yourself, and don't worry about all the negativity or all of the rejections or all of that stuff. You don't control that stuff. You control what you're passionate about, what you believe, what your vision is. What do you want to see? And have that patience. So it's not I against them or they against me. It's no, it's a reality that exists that more people need to understand, so they don't go down the direction of feeling oppressed and feeling rejected and feeling like, the world not fair. No, the world in balance anyway. It's in balance. The world in balance. So get used to it. And so what happened in this process that you see now, it creates uh, this cultural bias. And cultural bias could go in so many different directions, that sometimes people think cultural bias is just about, oh, this is what these people believe in, this is who they are, and so they stick to what they do. Cultural bias could also be we've created our own culture and could sometimes be biased to our own self, our own family, our own people. Because culture is something that is fluid. It's not something that is set. You've got to create culture every day. Is what culture you want to create, because culture is the worst behavior you're willing to accept. So you just can't say, well, culture is just, oh, people. No, culture, eh, in a way, a culture could even go against you when it, because you think you are part of the culture, but you're not, because the ones who created the culture not considering the culture you think that you're in. They've created a whole different culture that is a bias against even you. So when people start interviewing you about things they don't live, they create, for me, from my perspective, they create this cultural bias. This idea where people uh, develop this tendency to judge based on norms. What have become normal? It's become, no, oh, I could never see you doing this. That's a norm. Oh, you're too primitive. That's norms. They've existed for years, for centuries. It's very dangerous. It's dangerous to human advancement and oftentimes to cohesion. So you this thing goes so far. It's just a thing, people just complaining about this and complaining about that. No, it's not complaint. Oh, or whoever's complaining, I'm sorry for you. But this is not a complaint. This is for young people to don't lose themselves. Don't go into a depressive state because you feel like you're not getting the equal opportunity. Do continue to focus. We talk about motivation, we talk about the self-determination theory. In the last podcast, we talk about this intrinsic thing. It's all coming around in full circle. Because the more you lose yourself and the more you begin to depend on these external forces, some people, unfortunately, they can't do nothing different because that's what they've chosen to do. It's every single person has a choice. This thing is so bad, it leads to this level of inaccurate conclusion about what meritocracy is. So they won't find ways to utilize what you have. They will set these ridiculous expectations and then say you failed. But you have the qualifications to do what the job requires, but they will rather than use your qualifications to say, all right, let's give some time to this process, because experience needs to be had, time needs to be had, relatability needs to be had, all these things. Okay, let's utilize the process. No, they flip it and they say, you're not good enough because you're supposed to do this. But the ones who interviewing you, they have never done it. They have never lived it. They've never gone through the process. So what are they making these decisions on? I know this podcast is long, but it's a podcast. So that means you can listen to it. You can listen part of it. You could go sit down, come back. You could rewind it. It's going to be there, so it's fine. All coaches went through it at some point in time in their life. They went through interviews where they felt hard done by. They felt like they tick all the boxes, and they felt like they were prepared, ready, and it didn't happen. Some felt like they did really well, and some felt like they were just ticking boxes. Because you have to do your quarter. You gotta get quarter your quota of people to show that you interview them and stuff like that. So it's different things. Don't worry about that. Don't get caught up in that. Don't go and do it anywhere. Even if it's a ticking of a box. If you know you're ticking the box, go do the interview anyway. Because you're learning something. If you're going to be a lifelong learner, even in the worst situations, go and learn. Go and learn. Because whatever someone meant for your downfall, as long as you show that humility and the willingness to do it in the face of ridicule, unfairness, all of these things, you're not doing it unto no one. You're doing it because you're passionate about it. You're gifted to do it. You love it. You're passionate about it. You want to change life. They might not know. They might not care. You cannot control that. Don't allow yourself to get to the point where you say, I'm not doing that. These people don't care. Da, 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 da. You complain, complain, complain. You make excuses. No one cares. No one cares about your excuses. You could sit and cry and mope and do everything all day. No one cares. No one. No one. Understand that. No one cares about you moping and crying about stuff. First of all, it's too much weak energy, too. It's too much weak energy. It gives you no energy, it gives you nothing. All it makes you do is drop tools, stop studying, stop caring, stop working hard, stop trying to elevate yourself. And they say, see, you were right. And they were wrong. But you made them look like they were right. You gotta keep going. One thing is most consistent that I have seen or I have heard, everything seems to just be scripted. People know so much about this game, but they can't sit and genuinely talk to someone about the game. About the game. They can't have an honest, authentic question about the game. It's all of these preconceived or pre-scripted questions. When people begin to ask scripted questions about things they're supposed to be good at, hmm, maybe they're looking for answers that they already preconceived. Maybe they would have asked the question with the answers right next to it. And if you don't answer it like that, nah, you know, you don't fit it. Or they have already decided if you don't answer these out of these 10 questions, if you don't answer these five just like this, you're not good. You're not qualified to do this. But then we talk about active listening. How active listening is important if there's already preconceived answers set. There's only preconceived answers set because they're interviewing you something they've never lived. If you live something, your story is true, it's authentic. You don't need script. Maybe you need some reminders, okay? Because your brain don't have the capacity to hold so much information. Most of the times you're doing things with subconsciousness, with unconscious competence, because you had to do it so many times that it's the brain has the ability to call it back once the situation presents itself. So your brain don't have a whole lot of capacity to hold a whole lot of things. But if you've done this long enough and this is what you do and it's authentic and it's real, uh, you should understand the uniqueness that come with this process. I don't know for other things, but within soccer, it's a unique sport. It comes with rules, different principles, different ideas, different game ideas, different style of play, but the principles remain the same. That's the uniqueness. So every single coach, every single professional has a unique way of how they do things. But if you check it, it is within the same principles of the game because that will not change. You need space, you need time. You need to close space. You need to deny space. Now, how you do that, the strategies you use, all of those things based on analysis and data and all these things, how you do that is the uniqueness. How much time you give to it, how you train physically. Some teams they train to the point where it's only them can train like that. If they believe that makes them win, that is their uniqueness. So where is the uniqueness in this process? Everybody asks the same questions. They ask the same questions. So what are they interviewing you on? Hmm. They're all scripted. You have this inaccurate interpretation now about who you really are because it's not applied to the individual. It can be applied to the individual because what the individual would have experienced, you have not. Again, don't mean that every job is for every coach. And it don't mean just because you interview, you're supposed to get a job. Because there's always an anti approach to everything. They're really mad with with who's saying it more than what is being said. It's about a reality that exists. Like I said, that young people need to know, need to understand. So we're not allowing our young people, our young men, young women who want to be involved in the game, who want to coach the game, to be forced out to the game because they feel like things are not fair. Don't worry about things being fair. It will forever be unbalanced. Just continue. If you understand it, knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And sometimes the more you do good and the worse things seem, it actually getting better. I would challenge more research around. A lot of people like to do a lot of research and a lot of analytical work around soccer. I would love to hear more about these questions in interviews and how those questions and choices align with the reality of those people who are asking it. Are those questions that they're asking aligned with what they're actually doing on a day-to-day basis? Because a lot of people ask a lot of tough questions, and you feel like, yes, this really have to be, and then you go, there's not even one good ball. They don't even have one good ball. They play on a field that's not lined. The kids don't know what's the first principle in a game. The players don't even know what it means to train. They don't even know they're not even sure about what it means to train, what training looks like. They'll come back, they interview what they don't live. Hopefully we'll continue to be positive for those who love the sport, for those who want to see uh, sport advance, and the more people that want to see lives change, and there's a lot of people like that who really get excited about uh, seeing young people change and seeing them transform, and there's a lot of young people that go to the field and they're excited to go to the field to see coach this or coach that because they give them this sense of purpose, and for you who have had such an impact, continue to grow, continue to be the voice, continue to be um, the little light in the darkness, regardless of your background, where you're coming from, or whatever. Continue to be that light because it will impact society, like it or not. It is not so insignificant as most time we think. It's not just about, oh, it's just a sport. Who cares? Where these percentage coming from with attempting suicide and mental health issues and helplessness? A lot of those children are playing sports. A lot of those children are playing soccer. Why it exists? Maybe we need to do a better job of removing all of the extra things and get back to doing what's right, being honest, holding people to higher standards, the standards that we are already living, and the standards that we are promoting, and the standards that everyone can see that we're doing it first. We understand it. We've done it before. Oh yes, we're development stuff, but for the past 10, 15 years, you have not produced one national team player. You talk about the one that 10 years ago, 20 years ago, everybody else is they're unprofessional. They don't know what they're doing. They don't know nothing. What is that behavior? What is that about? Fair enough, you know. But development, the last time I checked, it's not what you say or how it look or how good the curriculum look. Development will forever remains transference of what you teach, your principles. It must be seen in the field. And if it's done that way, then you see elevation. Like the big clubs, like the professional teams, they take players from academy, and then 2 years ago, 3 years from now, 3 years, 5 years from now, they're playing in the first team. Not one every 5, 6 years. What are they doing? And it's hard. Not saying nothing about that. It's hard. It's difficult. Don't interview and talk like that's what you live in. Everybody knows it's hard. It's difficult. And you could be doing the best you can. But while you're doing your best you can, don't let everyone else feel like they're so insignificant and they're not at that level when, there's merit. So, like I said, stay informed in your belief, whatever you're chasing, whatever you're passionate about. Yes, it's about soccer, but I know there are other people probably listening to this and they might relate to something else. You're passionate and you're being rejected, you're being told no, you're being told that you're not good enough, but you, deep down inside of you, you know that you've worked hard. Be humble. Yes, you might think, but trust me, you might come to realize that it's a blessing in disguise. And so don't lose hope. Don't lose faith. Keep pushing. Keep working. And keep going. That's how you know 15,000 times. Keep going. Because you have 15,000 times more experience than you had before. So you are getting better. You're getting better every time. So keep going, keep working, don't lose hope, keep the faith. Your season will come. Stay blessed. Looking forward to seeing another podcast.
KO Show is sponsored by LUSC Development Program that focuses on mentorship. This is a program that makes soccer accessible to all. Soccer Club. Come. If you enjoy this podcast, please share and subscribe to the Coach KO Show on YouTube. Take action now to advance the game and you.